Right, we're going to go from this to this, and then we're going to do the antlers tomorrow. Okay, so what we do is we get you a little bit of really, really dark brown and a tiny, tiny little bit of this. Maybe that much? An inch, no more, because you're going to need the rest of it for blending and things later if you decide to do anything dark. And so I am now going to find my needle. With a single needle, you'll either need to take this out of your 3-needle tool, or hopefully you have a single needle, and I want you to lay it down over the eye like this and just go over it very gently. Walk it round. Can you see? Very, very, very lightly over the top. You can stab that in a little bit later if you need to. We'll do the pupil later, but we're now starting to get it looking like an eye. They are very, very dark, are reindeer's eyes. So that's that bit done. And then what I need you to do is to get the remainder of your wool. Now you should have about this much-ish left. Don't worry if you haven't. We're not going to use it all anyway. And you can... It has lots of bits of hedge in it. I'm going to pull off about that much. Now if you've still got strips, that's not a worry either. Just going to lay them down and lay them round. So to begin with, I'm going to tack it down there. And I'm going to bring it up and underneath. And because the fibres are going that way, predominantly, so it's hanging down, can you see the edges of the fibres are just hanging down there? So it's in the direction that we would rip it. And it's the width of its neck. I'm going to drag it round there, and we are going to stab it up here. So that pulls that bit tight, and we're just going to very gently, almost straight on, we're going to tack it all down. And this starts pushing all those shapes underneath together, getting them to work as a whole so that we create his neck. Now if you find that you've got real channels in between, you can always just stuff some in there, in the gaps, and then cover it over. See, I'm going in there. And now I'm going to go out at an angle. Cover that bit. I'll put him to the side, he may not obscure it quite so much. Okay, so now we've done the side, we'll get the other bit, and I'm just pulling out the edge. If you've got an edge, in order to avoid an edge, sort of like a seam looking type thing, what you do is you just kind of pull that edge out, kind of fray it a bit. stab myself there. Okay, so without going over this time, so I've tacked all that down at that side, yeah, and I'm going to stroke that down. I'm going to go over the top, round the hook. I'm pulling it quite tight because I want to, basically I want to flatten it out. It just helps do that. So I'm now going in at an angle. So now it's got quite a nice defined neck. And that's got a bit rooked up there, so I'm just going to go at an angle there and tidy that bit up. Okay, and then we're going to go underneath the jaw. So again, about half that. If you've got it ripped into strips, use the strips. And I'm going to just, again, it's about that length, look. Yeah. So I'm going to tack it down there at the edges, towards his jawline, down towards his nose. Tack it all down. Come up and over a bit. That's no worries because we're going to cover that over in a minute. If it goes near your eye, just tuck it under. Again, just shape the jaw just a little bit. Going underneath there. And then we're going to do the same on that side and over. Can you see this is kind of smoothing out all those shapes all the time? And like I say, if you do it and you think, oh crikey, there's a really big gap under there, and just poke a little bit of wool underneath. And this is also why we keep it not so, when we made the shapes we didn't make them so hard, because we need the flexibility. We need the flexibility to sculpt. You see that's quite soft still, so I'm just kind of bring that down. Go underneath his jaw a bit. I've got a bit of slack there, so I'm going to cover that, and I'm going to, because there's, can you see there is a bit of a divot going on there, a little bit of a gap. So I'm just going to push those two edges in together. I haven't done that eye, but you would have already. Okay. So look at them from the top, look at them from the side, see what needs filling, what doesn't, what's looking okay. Do that, tack it on top. Okay, so that's looking pretty good on this side, I'm quite happy with that. Because we have at least another layer left to put on this. We're either going to put colour on it or we're going to leave it white. And even if we leave it white, we're going to blend it with some pinks and things like that, and fawns, especially around his muzzle, a little bit around his eye. So there's going to be a bit of blending things going on. So there'll be plenty of room for changing it. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Okay, so I'm now going to go across his forehead. So again, ripping down with the grain of the wool, and I'm going to drag that out a little bit, and that's going to come down his nose and down the back of his neck. Pull a little bit off there, but I'm going to rapidly do that for you. Now then, you might find at this point that his nose needs a little attention, and certainly we're going to be building up the back of his eyes. Yeah. Now, can you see that that's coming over? So I'm just going to tuck that in, okay, for the time being, because we're not building eyelids yet, neither do we want the white wool walking down into his eye, but make sure that you work all the way down and push with your needles in that direction. Do you remember me saying about the carving thing? Sometimes it doesn't matter, sometimes it really does, and this is one of those times where you just need to be smoothing it down and tightening it up. Basically, that's what we're doing, is we're locking everything down, tightening it all up, and sculpting it. So here we are. We now have the beginning, of our reindeer. Okay, now I'm going to look at his muzzle. I'm guessing his muzzle is not going to be right. In fact, I can tell you for 100% certain. Oh, it looks really quite cross. It's got a very scowly face, look. It's like... So we need to alter that. He's also got a lump here going on, so I'm going to squish that down. And can you hear I'm going quite deep, and you probably see that I'm going quite deeply as well, to squash that lump down, because I just don't want a lump there. Now then, I do, however, want his nose to get a bit more, and his cheeks to be a bit more defined. So if we look at his friend and him, can you see he's a bit narrow on his nose, and he's a bit fatter. His jaw on this one's pretty good though, so I'm quite happy with his jaw. And the back of his jaw, again, okay. But what I'm talking about is jaw, obviously his muzzle. So we're kind of getting there. Yeah, needs a bit more sculpting on this side. I'm going to put a bit more muzzle on this one. His nose is pretty good, muzzle not so much. So I'm going to do his nose now, muzzle now. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to take off a little bit of white like that. We're going to put that straight on here, and I'm going to gather it up, stick it on like that, have a look at him face on. So if I show you that, okay, you can kind of see how much I think needs to be added, and I'm going to take a similar size. Because if you constantly put on the same, you know what's happening. So if you pull off and you look and you go, they're about the same. So either side, and again we're probably going to cover this up either with its final coat, or we're going to cover it up with a different colour, so don't worry. That's my mantra really, isn't it? Don't worry. Don't worry. It'll be fine. All fine. So do the same on the other side. And then just sit and look at your reference pictures and check that the proportions are good and that you're happy with what you've produced so far. And we shall get on and do the antlers tomorrow, and then we can get on and do the rest of it. We're closer than you think. Yeah, happy with that now. It's got a bit more muzzle. Very similar. Okay, right guys, that's it for tonight. Yeah, keep using the group as support. I'm constantly amazed with what you guys are doing, and really happy, and I hope you're enjoying it. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.